Okay, guys, you want to know about our story in Europe in 2026? I just picked a few of the best pictures we took and thought maybe this would help show you where we were. So the ship you see right there is the first of the two ships we were on. It's the Holland America Rotterdam. We were in the front of this ship. We took it across the Atlantic, and then we took it to Norway, and it's in the harbor in Norway right there. So let's go from there. So when we got on the ship, we took it across the Atlantic, and we were sailing mostly northeast. So when the sun came up every morning, it was pretty much in front of us. So here's some of the scenes that we saw. We would go up every morning to the crow's nest because we had this inside cabin that had no windows, but the crow's nest had beautiful pictures. And so mostly the crossing was, it was a little rough the first few days, but most of the days were like the water you see here. Not bad at all. So when we got to England, our very first stop with the United Kingdom was Falmouth, and it's in Cornwall. It was a town that was founded by pirates, and this guy right there was our tour guide. We signed up for a walking tour, and he plays that little accordion. So as you walk through town, he leads you, and he's playing the accordion, and you're following him, so you feel a little bit like you're what's the fairy tale? The Pied Piper, as he's leading you through town. But he tells you the story, and he'll stop and talk for a while, and then lead you to another spot, view another part of the city. And so Falmouth became important because it is the closest port to the New World, to Canada and the United States. So when they discovered the New World, Falmouth became the place where the earliest places where ships could arrive and deposit their cargo. And it also became the headquarters for the mail service for all of the colonies outside of the United Kingdom. So anyway, it was a neat little tour. But one of the things Ellen wanted was, we're in Cornwall, so she wanted scones and clotted cream. So what you see there is her scone. She loved it. Clotted cream, which is sort of like it's a little bit milder and sweeter than butter. But more substance than like whipped cream. It's really good. And then you put jam on top of that. So she was pleased. The next stop was a town called Plymouth. Plymouth is where the Canadians and Americans gathered in preparation for D-Day. And so they have a little museum there. What you see is a good chunk of the actual museum. It has a lot crammed into a little bitty space, and including this plane over the top, and everything that you can get to, you can touch and see. You can sit in the Jeeps. You can sit in the tank that's out front. They have a narrator. This is a guy who is telling me the story. So that's a shell, the anti-aircraft shell, and its actual size and weight. I think it was about like 2 gallons of milk. So it's probably more like about 15, 16 pounds. They're hauling those shells, putting them in, grabbing another, putting it in, grabbing another, and putting it in. That's a workout. And so the guy who's there was, he wants to be a tour guide for World War II sites, and he just enrolled enlisted, I guess, in the Navy, and he's there as a guide in this place. The museum was really cool. This is the town of Plymouth, a very cute little spot. The next town we went to Southampton, which is just a shipping port, and from there we took a train and we went up to Winchester. Actually, we were going to take the train, and they were working on the train track, so we wound up having to take an Uber. But Anyway, so you've heard the song Winchester Cathedral, you're bringing it down. Well, that's Winchester Cathedral right there. Many famous people are buried there, including Jane Austen in part of that. So this is where Jane Austen spent her final days. The next town we went to, we were stopping in Bruges, Belgium, but we had been to Bruges, Belgium recently. So what we did is we rented a car and we drove across the border into France. And this is the shoreline in France of Dunkirk, one of the most famous sites of World War II. What we did there is we had arranged to meet a guy. This lady on the left here is someone on the ship who wanted to join the tour with us. And so we rented a car, drove there, met this tour guide. He got in the car and then told us all the places in town to go. So, and the book that he's holding has pictures of what it looked like before and after and during the invasion and how they got in this situation. And this is the actual place where something like 300,000 soldiers who were trapped and given up for dead escaped to Great Britain via small ships, personal ships, ferries, fishing boats, small personal boats that came across the channel and rescued soldiers in a place that was where the big ships couldn't get into to rescue them. So anyway, that was a neat story, but it was a harrowing day because it took us the whole day and we got back to the ship with only about an hour to spare. Once we got across to across the transatlantic part, we did a second leg of the trip, which was into Norway. And this is called Nordfjord, the North Fjord of Norway. Nordfjordeid is the name of the town. And this is a church. I don't believe it's in operation as a church anymore, but it just shows you the picturesque scenery. Reminds me a lot of some of the towns of Alaska, like Sitka maybe. The next town we stopped was Kristiansand, and they had a street there. They had the proprietor of the street was having trouble getting people to come visit his shop. So he decided, what we'll do is we'll paint our shop a different color than everybody else. And he talked all the other shop owners in town into doing it. So it's kind of like a, Alice in Wonderland, weird colors. You can see the sidewalk has a rainbow painted in the sidewalk. It's just a quaint, charming little street. We stopped and had coffee there and walked around town. Was an interesting part of Norway. One of the things that they did on the ship was in several of the ports in Norway, 3 of them, I believe, they let us go out on the deck. Normally, this part of the ship is not open because they don't want you out there. But as we sail through the fjords and are coming into these various Norwegian towns, they let us out there to take pictures of the front of the ship. And it was cold, cold, cold. I was wearing earmuffs, vest, several layers, and still froze. But some beautiful pictures, as you can see here. This is a statue park that is in Oslo, Norway. Very famous sculptor. He's a very good sculptor. But I don't think he knows how to paint or how to sculpt clothes. Every one of his statues is a naked person. So this particular section that you see here is all about people who are approaching grief or having issue with grief or loss. They're facing the end of their life. So it's a man helping his friend, a woman who's mourning her husband and they're about to pass. Maybe 2 friends sitting together contemplating life. So he's a very good sculptor, but it was difficult I found myself wanting to put clothes on people. But you can also tell that All of his models are Norwegian. They're barrel-chested men and big-boned women. And anyway, this is one of the places that we saw along the way. When we got back into Netherlands, we stopped at the Delft factory. So Delft porcelain or Delft tiles, dishes are terrifically expensive, been around for hundreds of years. They're the blue on white and fascinating place to visit. So then we were there to see tulips. And these are just a few of the tulip scenes we saw. The upper right, Ellen is standing in a field where we went, where you could actually walk out into the tulip fields. Most of them, they're commercial growers, so they don't want you walking in their fields. But they have one place that will you can reserve a time and be able to go out and walk in the tulip fields. The place on the left and the bottom is Keukenhof Gardens, which is kind of like Disneyland for flowers. It's only open 45 days a year, but this is kind of the things you can see. Here's even more of them. Keukenhof is just a marvelous place. I'm glad we went. From there, once we got done with, we spent 3 days recovering from our cruise and seeing flowers, and then we flew to start the second cruise ship. And this is the second ship. It's a much smaller ship. The other one held 2,100 passengers. This one only holds 700. So you can see there's only 3 floors, 3 rows of cabins. Again, we had an inside cabin. But this is in Spain. And this is the cathedral. That box there is the tomb of Christopher Columbus. And there are several places in the world that claim to have Christopher Columbus. This is in Seville, and they do have the remains of Christopher Columbus's brother, and so they've tested the remains that are in this box and compared it with the brother and determined that he is in fact Christopher Columbus. So it was a very majestic cathedral, but nobody in the United States wants to be associated with Christopher Columbus anymore, but Spain really claims him. So these are 3 of the cathedrals that we saw while we were in Spain. The one on the left is in Seville, the one on the center is in Barcelona, and the one on the right, I don't remember. But anyway, so every town that we stopped at in Spain seemed to have either a castle or a fortress of some kind, and a cathedral of some kind, and a fortress, a castle, and a cathedral. Those 3 things. And so because there were so many cathedrals and castles, Ellen and I would tease each other and say, "Oh, it's ABC, another bloody castle." This is the Alhambra. It is also in Seville. This is the palace that's there, and this is the architecture from when the Moors, which were the Islamic folks from Africa, came into and took over. Look at that intricate carving work. It is just phenomenal. It's an interesting place. And then in the same area, here's the castle. And so it's fun to get to walk around. Then we move on. The next part of our trip was in France. This was a place that had a bunch of peacocks, and they would come strutting around. And one of these, in about this spot, decided to take issue with me. I think he suddenly decided that I was where I wasn't supposed to be and started charging me. But for the most part, they just walked around puffing their feathers out and trying to look important, acting like a typical politician. This is one of the beautiful towns that we stopped in. It's called Collioure. What we did is stopped in another port and took this little train, and it went up over the hill. And when it got to the top of the hill, they stopped and let us take this picture. Just a beautiful scenery. It was a postcard kind of a town. This is the place where I bought my hat, and my second hat. My first hat I bought, which was the cap kind of thing, which was wool, which was really nice in Norway to keep my head warm. But then I was roasting when I got down here into 70 degree temperature in the Mediterranean. And so anyway, so that was Collioure. That's France. So if you've read the book, The Count of Monte Cristo, this is Chateau d'If. This is the setting for Monte Cristo. Chateau d'If is the French version of Alcatraz. It's a prison that's out in an island in the middle of the water, and where the guy was held prisoner for a long time before he managed to escape and recover all the wealth and take vengeance on his enemies. So this is a town we've wanted to visit for a long time. This is in France, and this is on the Côte d'Azur, which basically means the Blue Coast. And there's Nice, and then there's a town that's next to it, and I'm blanking on the name for a minute. In the movie An Affair to Remember, Cary Grant is visiting a house that belongs to his grandmother, I don't remember. Anyway, it's on the hillside that overlooks this little harbor here. This is the town of Nice. So this is from the hillside. There's a hill looking down on Nice. We took a little train to get up the top of the hill. So this is a long beach area and a wonderful place to walk. We really like Nice. So last part of our trip was Italy and Montenegro. It was the Italian part of the tour, and one leg of it, or one stop, was in Montenegro. So on the left, we took a bus and they stopped, and you can see just a little bit of the Amalfi Coast there behind you. I got to the tip of the island where you can see into the Amalfi side. That picture in the middle is when we got to Rome, and we were able to be reunited with our waiter there, Clyde, who I've witnessed to a couple times, and who we really like. He is from Albania. Lots of cool stories about him. In the last year, he had a near fatal car crash. He was on a scooter and a car hit him and put him in the hospital. He was in a coma for days. After he recovered, he had friends who approached him. He had always been a waiter in a restaurant, and they asked him if he would like to go in with them and buy a restaurant, which he did. And so he and 3 other guys just opened this restaurant. It's only been open about 2 months. And so he said his comment was, it was a hard time while he was recovering, but God is good. And the interesting thing is, he just found out his wife was expecting just before the car accident. And so he has a son who's right around a year old now, something like that. And anyway, neat time. The city on the right is my favorite place. Believe it or not, where we're sitting in that little Surrey is the top of a wall. It's a mound that has been flattened out and made really wide and has a roadway down the middle of it. It's 2.5 mile long circled wall. You can drive around the city, which is inside it. So that's the town of Lucca, which is my favorite place in Italy for a town to visit. So while we were there, one of the things we wanted to see this time that we had never been able to see are some of the hilltop towns. So this is one in very southern Italy. Uh, and you can see the farmland rolling away in the distance, the medieval town along the top. This is one of the tours. This next picture is near the end of the Amalfi Coast, a little town called Sorrento. This is the fringe of Sorrento. Off to the left, just out of the picture, would be the island of Capri. And so this is a bus tour we took. This is another hilltop town in Tuscany. Isn't that just beautiful countryside, all rolling hill farmland? It is very much like a much more treed version of the Palouse in terms of the rolling hills, which is where Ellen's family farm is from. And was a town that we've wanted to visit and sort of and we're consider this maybe our farewell tour to Italy. And this is one of the places we really wanted to see. Okay, another hilltop town. This is called San Severina. It's near the very bottom of Italy. Again, Santa Severina. Just beautiful. This is the last picture. This is Kotor, Montenegro. Montenegro only became its own country about 20 years ago. It was part of Czechoslovakia. Then when Czechoslovakia split up, it became part, I believe, of Bosnia, and then finally got its independence from Bosnia. So that's our ship parked there on the left. And you could come right into town, walk off the ship, and it's about 2 minutes from the gateway to the town. And then you climb up the hill. The side of the hill, there's a wall that runs around the hill, and you're climbing the edge of the wall. And anyway, so this is a picture I took from climbing the wall. Anyway, so those are some parts of our trip. So look forward to talking to you about it sometime later. If you have any questions, let me know. Love you guys. Bye-bye.